Hey guys, we're tearing down Stacy Young's. This is that Iveco 8065 engine that came out of that FR12 loader out of Baker City. So we're finally getting an opportunity here to tear this thing down. I already got the air compressor off of there and the drive belts and the belt tensioner. And this one here was spitting a bunch of oil out the blow-by tube, so just been one of those mornings there. I came in there and did an annual inspection on a Kenworth and truck and trailer, got it gone, and then I had Dave, the guy that had that really nice, if you look, I don't know how long ago it was last summer, real nice, I don't remember if that was a 388 or a 389 Peterbilt hay truck, really nice silver and red one. I did the outer frame rebuild on the Cummins ISX CM2350. They're really happy with that truck. I don't know why, guys. I really don't. I rebuilt the engine and I put an updated Incal file in it. I resealed the rear structure and a couple other things, but he gained 5 miles an hour on the hill. This Mount Hebron, we call it here. He gained 5 miles an hour on that hill. He said it runs good. It doesn't use any oil. So they're really happy with it. But he had to come in today. The other day. He said a couple small things. The other day, he's got 130,000 miles on that engine already. And I don't know how long it's been, but it was last summer when I did that engine. Late last summer. Anyways, number 4 injector line coming off the rail. Man, I gotta pay attention here because this bolt shorter, I see these bolts go clear through where this one doesn't, so you gotta kind of need to pay attention to what the hell you're doing there when you put those together, or you'll break that. But the line cracked on him, and I called Ruth up there at Kenworth and told her to get me a couple of those lines. And here lately I've been ordering everything I order 2 of them, and I keep 1 in stock. I mean, it's costing me a lot of money, but the way this parts thing is right now, you better get it while you can, because you ain't gonna get shit here pretty soon. In our third world shithole we're now living in. But anyway, other day when I was looking at that fuel line, he said check engine light keeps coming on and going off. Well, I got to looking, and it had a 5868 code in there, and I can't remember the definition, but basically it was kind of it's an emissions code with the NOx in it. And one of the first things they tell you to on Cummins Intellect is to look at exhaust leaks, and I got underneath it there, and I could see that right around where the DOC bolts to the DPF, that big clamp, it was just carbon all the way around it, and you could feel it blowing on your hand. I said, well, let's fix that first. I got a feeling that's probably what's causing your check engine light to come on and go off. And he said, well, we just had that down south there, and those guys pulled that and cleaned that DPF. Well, I grabbed the clamp, and they didn't tighten the clamp up on it, so we pulled the DPF and DOC out of the bottom, and then we resealed it and put it all back together. So I just got that down here a little bit ago, got him down the road. Let's see here. I'm trying to see how this heat exchanger, I know the transmission fluid from the torque converter ran through this, kind of like a cat, see, with that heat exchanger. I got a D5H I'm going down to in Los Molinos Monday. It is, I called and asked him, I said, so what's the deal here? My last name's Rogers, his last name's Rogers. his name's Walter Rogers. Anyways, I gotta go down there. What's striking me is a little bit odd. This clamp here's gonna have to come loose too, huh? Okay. Just trying to figure out what all I gotta take off here to make this work. Let's see, I was putting this up on a bucket for now. I ordered some different kinds of bases and stuff for these cameras so I could get the magnetic base part to screw onto it. I've got a bunch of the magnetic bases, but nothing for this camera, nothing for it to mount to. So I ordered some of that stuff. Hopefully they're right. But anyway, I got to go down there and that D5H, I tried to get out of what was exactly happening. I said, so he told me the transmission's got, I says, is the torque converter getting hot and the transmission getting hot, or is it engine? He said, well, what happens is it'll take off and run for a while, and then pretty soon it gets hot. The transmission will get hot and it'll stop shifting right, and then pretty soon it doesn't even really want to move. And says then the engine boils over. And I said, the engine boils over? I'm not so sure that you have a torque converter or transmission troubles. Even if the transmission gets hot, usually the engine keeps up and stays cool. I said, it kind of sounds like to me, because they've got a water-cooled heat exchanger that the oil from the transmission converter comes through here, just like this does, and it kind of sounds like to me he's got a restriction in the cooler, or water pump problem, or radiator is all corroded and needs to be rotted out. So that's kind of what I'm leaning towards, getting the information that he told me. He may not, well, and the problem is if they run it long enough like that, some of these guys just keep trying to go, they'll let them cool down, then they'll run them like that till they get hot again. They'll just do it over and over again. What they wind up doing is they end up taking all the seals and baking everything inside the power shift on them, and you got to redo it anyway. Yeah. Okay, so that's not gonna come apart. Wait a second, I got these handy dandy. That'll hold that darn nut in there, huh? Yeah, saves me a trip to the toolbox. Them pliers are pretty handy tools. Those Nipex wrench pliers. Okay, I think, is there anything else holding this thing on there? Had a spacer here on the bottom. Well, I think basically it should just slide off of there. Good heavy son of a gun. Okay, that's off of there. Let me go lay this somewhere, and then I want to stack my bolts up and everything that come out of it the way they went in it, and keep track of things. Because definitely on this, special extra care, attention. Well, you should on anything, but never torn into one of these, so I just want to make sure she goes back together correctly. Okay, so this thermostat housing, yeah, this is kind of the thermostat housing here. I'm trying to, okay, so these bolts here will come out, and that should hold that to the cylinder head, it looks like. And then they've got a brace running here that we're gonna have to pull off. I wonder if I just take these two bottom, yeah, I think that's what I'll do. I'll just kind of, well, that ain't gonna work. You're gonna have to separate that brace separately, because they've got this nipple, plastic nipple with a 2-bolt flange. There's a nipple going up in the bottom, so it's got to go straight up. So this brace is gonna have to, I might be able to go straight up. Maybe we'll see. Let's get these 2 bolts off right here. Everything's 17 millimeter. Just about everything on this thing is. They like the 17 millimeter. Is there any other bolts hiding in there? Okay, so I got to get an extension and a 13 millimeter, and we'll get these 2 here loose, and we'll see what happens, huh? Alright, well, kind of got this thing broke loose here, I think. Just try not to screw that up down there on the bottom. I mean, you see plastic and you're like, shit. You can see that breaking real easy. Oh, I got it off there. Okay. Without breaking it. That makes you nervous. Okay. It's just got an O-ring on it right there. Yeah, that definitely is not the best design I've ever seen there, putting that plastic pile, you know, and then you break it, and some guy will get on there and go, some guy got on the video of the 6170M, you sure do break a lot of stuff, you need to pay more attention. You know, some guy that's probably a computer guy that sits in a cubicle. I shouldn't even say anything anymore. I know people are just so full of shit. They really are. They're just absolutely full of shit. Well, that's right. This plate went on there. This plate went on there like this. Yeah, that plate went on there like that. Okay, and I was wrong. That's not even bolted to that. So obviously that bolt is not very tight on there. So we'll rip that off of there real quick. And I got to go out to a 4850 and broke the belts. And he said I was going to change those belts myself, but it looks like you got to tear something apart on the front of the crank to get the belts off. I said, yeah, it's just a pump drive. He goes, that's a pain in the ass. You come do it. I said, all right. So I got to go do that here in a little bit. I was going to see if I could get this thing pretty well torn down. And yeah, these Europeans, they sure like banjo fittings on everything, don't they? I mean, they're good fittings, I guess, but it's just different, you know, and they really use those. I always lose them damn banjo washers, though. That's my problem with those fittings, because I always drop one or something, and I keep a whole bunch of those in my service truck, all those dowdy washers, you know. If you don't know what a dowdy washer is, it looks like a band. Well, here you go, right here. Let me set this down somewheres without dumping all the shit and bolts out of it. This is a dowdy washer right here. I got a kit of them right here. If I can get my dick skinners in there. There we go. It looks like a banjo washer, but it's got rubber impregnated in the center of it for a seal. That's a dowdy washer. Cummins uses a lot of those now on their turbos, and all their lines and fittings are kind of like this now. So, okay, what should we do next? Got the garbage off the front now. Here's a banjo washer. I know where this goes. Try to keep track of this stuff a little bit. It went in the compressor here somewheres. It was over here, I'm pretty certain. I thought it was over here. Where in the hell was it at? You know, I know it goes right in there somewheres. I'll figure it out later. I guess I'll pull this. So the head ought to come off. This is where the head ends and the block begins. I mean, I think with this out of frame rebuild, I think it would be a very wise decision to pretty much pull all this. We know the front crankshaft seal's leaking. I think it's probably pretty much going to get stripped down to bare block, and then I'm going to pull the crank out of it. So I might as well just, for now, just try to identify the problem, which I'm pretty certain it's going to be dusted, which most loader engines seems like to me get dusted. Let's get the head off of it. So let's get this loose here, and then get that off. Let me set you down right here, maybe. Just notice it's got like a, it's got an air fuel ratio going up to this pipe, so we got to undo that. And I'm not going to get on that one with an impact. Let's get an end wrench to get on that one. It's got an air fuel ratio line right here. That injection pump looks like a Bosch pump to me, but it says, it says Fiat on it, but it says PE. You know, that's a PE Bosch pump. I was going, Fiat didn't make their own damn pumps. That looks like a Robert Bosch pump to me. Yeah, I was talking to one of them videos. Lonesome Dove, that's one of my favorite movies. One of my favorite movies that I watch all the time. My wife gets annoyed. We watch the same thing over and over. I said, well, why would you watch one of these new movies that ain't worth a shit? You know, that you don't like. You get done watching it and you go, well, that was shit. You know, watch one that you like and you know you like. I don't mind watching it over again, but she don't. Anyway. Another movie I really like to watch is There Will Be Blood with Daniel Day-Lewis. I really like that movie. I would think I was born in the wrong time. I would have thrived back then. I really would have. To be honest with you, sometimes I hate this modern day age, but I guess this modern day age with this mechanic has been good for me, but I don't know. I liked the people back then. It seems like a little better. What the hell is going on here? Oh, those are cool. That's kind of neat. I like that. And that's a good idea there. Look at that clamp. You can just loosen it a little bit. That is a neat ass clamp, you know that? And then it'll pop back in place. That is really neat. I think that's cool as shit. It doesn't take much to impress me, but I've never seen one like that, to be honest with you. That's kind of cool, the way that works. And the bolt's close enough to the pipe, the round part of the pipe, that can't get a gear wrench on there. They weren't thinking too much about me when they did this, were they? Let's pull these out of here. Might be something a little bit heavier. Now I should be able to just pop that out of there. Intake's pretty clean on her. You know what's kind of weird, those 12.5 liters I noticed on those Power Techs, every one of those that I tear apart, every one of them, the intake is all carboned up. Those don't have an EGR valve on them. You sit there and you go, what the hell is the intake carbonated up on a non-EGR engine? Only thing I can think of, it's got to have something pushing exhaust gas back through the intake somehow. Okay, what's next? Pull all these fuel lines. We'll pull these fuel lines and cap the pump off, and then pull the intake. And then I'm going to soak these exhaust bolts down again, and then we can get the valve cover off. Now let's see what this here hole looks like in these, or holes I should say. What do we got here? What do we have? I would say that's water. Yeah, she's pretty well dusted, you can tell. I do not see any cross hatches at all in the cylinder walls. And I'm telling you, that is a good ridge. This son of a bitch is worn out bad. Yeah, it's just slap ass worn out. Let me get a screwdriver. I don't think that's a carbon ridge either. Nope, that's not a carbon ridge. It's just absolutely worn out. I mean, there's a 1/8 inch step in that. 16th, you know, that is absolutely worn out. So, okay, I'm looking at this thing. Yeah, there's the edge of the dry sleeve in it. You can barely see the edge of that. Let me get this light. You can barely see right there the sleeve. This is a dry liner. So what we'll do is I'll just go ahead. This thing's going to get stripped clear down anyway. And every seal and gasket on it's going to get changed. And we'll go ahead and get the injection pump, everything off the front cover. Get the front dampener and the crank dampener and all that stuff out of there. Get this bell housing or flywheel housing and the flywheel out of it. It'll get a new rear seal. And then what we'll do once we get the crank out of it and rods and pistons, I'll take my stick welder and then I'll weld a bead around this liner in a circular pattern all the way from starting from the bottom and work my way up in a spiral till I get to the top, and then I'll let her shrink up, and then I'll just take a punch from the bottom side. I'll stand the block up on its end and I'll take a punch and I'll knock the bastards out of there. And when I go back together with this thing, I'll get a bunch of dry ice from the machine shop and I'll just slide them in. So it's a little bit more of a pain in the ass and a wet liner type setup, but that's what you got there. But we'll continue on with this project. It's Saturday evening, about 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and I'm probably gonna just say the hell with it and go home. I've had enough. Hey guys, I don't know where I left off on this. I've got it on another SD card, but I've been busier than hell. This is that Iveco 120 that came out of that FR12 Fiat Allis FR12. This is a Iveco 8065. It's got dry liners and they're completely worn out. You can feel I took a screwdriver here the other day, and usually though you'll have a little bit of a carbon ridge up here at the top where the rings stop traveling upwards, and I took a screwdriver and yeah, there was a little bit of carbon, but most of it was wear. It's got a good 1/16 of an inch of cylinder taper there. It's pretty bad. No wonder you had blow by. But anyway, we're going to keep on disassembling this thing. It's been quite a go around here lately. Everything has been coming the hard way. I got a New Holland T7030 that I had a service call on, and it had some minor stuff. The gas cylinder on the tilt wheel was bad, and the wheel wouldn't stay up and kept falling in the guy's lap. And of course, he he couldn't get anybody to get over there to work for him, which I know is pain. Anyway, that was wrong with it. Then something, the little plastic piece that goes on the throttle pedal, they broke it off, and so I got one of those from New Holland. And then I actually noticed it. I noticed that the inner axle seal where it goes into the hub, where the stub shaft goes into the hub for the Planet gear, I noticed, I said, man, that thing's getting the wheel wet, it's leaking so bad, you better do something. And he says, well, I didn't notice that, fix that while you're there. Well, it's one of those things that I wish I'd have never saw it. But let's just put it this way. As you can see, here's the steering knuckle right here. I saved the knuckle itself. I mean, I beat on it pretty good, but it basically took me 10 hours to get that corner apart. Right here, see where I had to heat this all up right here, but there's a pin, steering pin, that goes through here, and then where that pin goes through that hole there's a nut on, there's a steering stabilizer bar that hooks to the top of that as well. Well, I had to cut the bushing in the steering stabilizer to get it off. I mean, I had that thing cherry red with a posi-lock puller on it with maximum tension on there, and it would not pop loose. And then I got this pin to finally come out, but it's ruined. I mean, when I had to cut this off, I kind of screwed and scarfed the pin up. So I gotta get a new pin. I gotta get a new bushing or an eye for that steering stabilizer, and then I gotta get 2 new bearing caps. I mean, these bearing caps, it took me 10 hours, I'm not kidding you guys, to get this apart. I bet I went through a bottle of oxyacetylene heating this whole part of this knuckle up, getting it cherry red, beating on it with an air hammer, sledgehammering the knuckle. Finally got it to come out of there. I mean, it was something else, I'll tell you what. But you know what, now I remember a couple years ago I did the other side, and I do so many projects that I forget the struggles that I had to this refreshed my memory on that. Then I went over to the other side, and then I remembered how much of a pain in the ass it was. And that's one thing, I took copper anti-seize, and I anti-seized the living hell out of that other one when I put it back together, which is what will definitely happen with this one. But I need to get on the phone this morning and get those parts coming. I got to go over to one ranch and look at a 7.3 Power Stroke and one of their feed pickups that's acting up. And then I've got a 480 or a 580 Super L backhoe that's got a hoses or something up in the boom on the backhoe broke. So I've got plenty of stuff to do. I need to get this apart, get my kit ordered, figure out what I need, and get the parts coming. Anyways, I'll add this, I guess, to the video somewhere along the lines. Okay, so I'm trying to figure out where I'm gonna go next here. I don't really know if I'm too worried about this right now as far as that goes. I think I'll get this front part of get the injection pump out of it. Let's see how this adapter plate for this air compressor is mounted. Can that just come with, yeah, these Europeans sure like their banjo fittings, don't they? Which it's kind of transferred over to this, to all this now. But I'm trying to see how this, I see the 2 bolts here that mount that. Can this part here just come off with all this other stuff? I don't see why it can't so far. I just need to get this banjo fitting off here, and I'm probably going to pull this water pump pulley and then pull these bolts here. That neck they've got is right smack in the way of getting to that bolt, so that neck will have to come off there on that. Might as well zip these damper bolts out. I don't know, it's probably going to be pressed on there just like a car hub, I imagine. Well, I guess we'll see when we get there. Well, I have to say that I do like that idea they had with this pump, that basically they just got a set of splines, and it's got a master spline and the end of it here. You can't really screw that up. That'll go into the master spline on this gear. I do like that idea. So that's kind of cool. I might be able to, kind of looking at this front cover here, see how this crank damper, it just slides on there, but see how the front cover kind of splits over the block here. It goes over the center axis of, excuse me, center axis of the crank there. So I think the next thing I'm going to do is probably just flip it upside down and pull the crank out of it, and then knock all the pistons out. Well, got the thing flipped upside down, got the pan off. That was a very interesting setup. Very interesting setup with the seal and the way the, yeah, that's pretty wild. I see the front cover splits right here, and it's kind of like that Kubota where it goes around the halves of the crank. Kind of goofy. That's a European deal, that is for certain. You don't see that much in a domestic engine over here anywhere, a Cummins or a Cat or anything like that I can recall anyway. I guess we need to get the pickup tube off. What do we got here? We got a couple bolts here. That's probably the discharge coming off the oil pump, coming into the block. And then there's obviously the pickup right here on the suction side of the oil pump. Here's probably the relief on the pump. Huh, interesting. I like working on different things and not working on the same thing all the time. Some guys like working on the same thing day in and day out, and that's to each their own, I guess, but it's just not really my thing. It's kind of nice to learn new things, not just keep doing the same old thing and monotonous thing over and over and over again and never learning the damn thing but one thing. So that's kind of the way I look at it. I'm kind of curious about this #1 main cap. It looks like maybe. I wonder if I can get away with it. Oh, it looks like I'm going to be able to get away with this. That's kind of cool. I kind of like that, the way their main caps aren't so darn tight on there like a John Deere. Boy, these bearings are pretty well worn out. Crank still looks nice and shiny though. Oh, I'm running out of room to stack stuff here. I've got to figure something out. Hang on a minute, let me figure out what I'm going to do with all this stuff. I guess I can go ahead and bust all these caps loose and rod caps loose and things like that. Good Lord. Hang on. Well, finding out the hard way that this piece here has to come off, because the way this piece here, the front cover won't come off until you get this piece off, and this front cover piece surrounds the crank. So let's get this over here and put this here. Let's see what happens. I got a very rigged setup here. I found some bolts that came out of the engine. That one was really long, one was shorter, and I shimmed this one out with some nuts to make them relatively the same length. But let's see what happens here. Oh, yeah, it's okay. That is a tapered fit. Okay. So now I see how it works. You don't know any of this stuff till you start doing it, so let's just come apart down here. There's Looks like there's something else still holding it. What is holding it down here? There shouldn't be anything holding it. Oh, the dirty son of a gun's got a bolt from the backside. They tricked me. I did not see that. Oh, come on. Work with me here, come on. Okay, now what do we got? Almost acts like there's still something holding it somewhere. Got these loose. Man, they're all different lengths. You just gotta love this kind of shit here. All the bolts are different lengths. I do not see. Wait a second. Well, yeah, there we go. There's the problem. The alternator bracket, the way it's bolted on there, it's bolted to the block and to the front cover, so it's gonna come off. Boy, that's kind of a joke, the way that's done. Yeah, that's loose. Now it's loose. I can see it moving freely now. And I'm sure I'll catch a bunch of shit about this, about all the know-it-alls. And some people say don't let it bother you, but I'm going to call these assholes out, you know. They can go fuck themselves. That's one thing nice about moving over to Rumble. Is YouTube censors are, you can't even reply back to these dickheads on YouTube and tell them to go fuck off. You're kind of sitting there at their mercy, and they can just say or do whatever they want to you on your channel, and you can't say anything back. Now the crank ought to come out of it. I started pulling on it just a little bit, and it was not cooperating, and just kind of guesstimate, I guess, where all these went. When we go back together, we'll have to really pay attention. And maybe it's listed. I got the book, so hopefully it's in there. Definitely a unique setup for that. Yeah. Now let me get a hold of it with the crane, pull on it.